Instead of having those pretzel necklaces, we can just have some La Creme Chocolat necklaces. And we can just put your, like, little business cards on there so that we can be like, oh, you wish you had one. Here's a card.
Perfect.
They could be your new product line. Like,
I love it.
The Beer Fest chocolate necklace.
Hey all, Amanda here, and welcome to another episode of Great Beer Adventure. This time of year is filled with fun, family, laughter, and really good food. For today's show, we focus on this last one. I sit down with Rudy of La Creme Chocolat and talk chocolates. Not just any chocolates though, amazing beer-infused truffles. Her truffles are the tastiest chocolates I can remember trying. Listen in to the end of the show to learn how you can have some shipped right to you. It is one way to get a taste of the amazing beers coming out of Maine without having to have a really great beer trading buddy. For now, let's head over to Novare Res and catch up with Laura.
Sitting at the table today with Rudy of La Creme Chocolat. Did I get it right?
Perfect.
Excellent. Hooray. So today, if you couldn't have guessed, we're going to be talking about beer and chocolate, and it's going to be amazing. And I am so excited.
As am I.
Excellent. When I first met you, I was just starting about doing a podcast, and I was like, somehow, some way, I need to have chocolate on my show. And then the beer podcast came, and I was like, beer and chocolate? Score.
Perfect.
Yeah, it had to happen. So let me just set the scene for everybody that is listening in. It is a cold, dark, 4 o'clock afternoon, pretty much.
Absolutely.
Maine.
It's typical for Maine in the winter.
It's a typical Maine fall, winter evening. And we're sitting in Novare Res, which is in Portland, Maine. It's a very nice, cozy little spot. I'm trying to go through the steps, but the beer has shown up, the chocolates are here, and I am so ready to jump in. But before we can do that, I have to tell you a little bit about yourself, because it's what I have to do.
All right.
And I'm not good at this. I don't do the Google very well, but
The Google.
the internet, the Google, the internets, right? The multiple nets. And the
I
Google,
don't know.
I have no idea. So I'm not very good at that, but we'll see what we come up with. All right. So
Interesting.
I found out that, let's see if I can put this in chronological order.
Sure.
Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. We'll try.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna try to guess something here. Did you go to school in Baltimore?
I didn't know.
No. Why do you have a Baltimore phone number?
I actually grew up in Baltimore. All of my family is still down there. Yeah, so I just kept the phone number. Family plans were easy to get, and I never changed it.
All right, well, that's good, because I was like, where does Baltimore fit in? But anyways.
That's where it fits in.
Yeah, there you go. Early ed and psychology. That's what you went to school for?
I double majored, because why not?
Right. I mean, you're going there and giving them $50 million anyways.
Absolutely. Might as well get 2 degrees out of the deal,
Exactly.
is my thinking. Plus, psychology is very convenient, as you know, being a mom. Very convenient for dealing with little kids, since they can't really tell you what it is that's going on with them.
Right.
I thought
people in general.
That is very true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends on who you're talking to.
Right. I'm hoping from there you went to France.
I actually went to school in Boston.
Okay.
In between the two.
All right.
That's where I got the both degrees. I went to Boston University, and I thought I was going to be a teacher. I knew I loved learning, and I loved being able to teach, and I wasn't really sure where that would take me or what I would do. I got a fantastic opportunity after school to go over and live in France. So after graduating, I went over there with my now husband. He wasn't my husband at the time. And we lived over there for about a year.
Holy mackerel.
It was awesome.
I know. I've been one time, and that's it. And it was beautiful.
It's beautiful. I actually moved there not knowing any French. So it was an adventure all around, which is part of the reason why I love the name of your podcast. I think life should be an adventure. And that's how I took it. It was an adventure. I embarked, and I was a little less than appropriately prepared. However, you learn as you go, and you have to fail a little bit to be able to succeed.
All I can say is bonjour. And that's not even like saying it with any kind of accent or whatever. Really.
I thought your accent was perfect.
Thanks. I try super hard. So moving on, you moved to Maine in 2007.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. You didn't even know that about you.
Google's amazing that way.
He's like, oh, really? Was that what it was? I guess so. And then I saw that you worked at the Black Point Inn and Standard Baking Company.
I did.
And you were a baker.
Yeah, so I started at Standard Baking Company. It was the first job I had in Maine. I was an early morning baker. I learned the trade through working there and the experiences that I had being part of it. I actually got involved with the Bread Bakers Guild through them and helped to do tours over in France for the it was the bread baking world championship, I guess is the translation.
I didn't even know that was such a thing. Like,
it's amazing.
I would imagine.
It's an amazing trip to actually be there and watch them compete in bread baking and pastry and all of the different categories. So it was great. We got to go to different bakeries and pastry shops, and I helped to do the translation, which was a little interesting. I definitely learned a lot more French than could get by, but at the same time, French people talk really fast a lot of times, so it's hard to catch everything. But
yeah,
it was a great entree into the food culture here in Portland, and also to bridge the gap between the things that I saw in France and loved and really appreciated, and where I am now.
Yeah. And that gets us to where you are now, which is, I'm going to say it again.
All right.
Creme Chocolat.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo. I'm going to get really good at this
You are.
some point. You know, it's got to happen, right? So through there, I found actually a great little sound bite. If it was an audio, it wasn't. It was reading. But in my mind, it was a sound bite because that's how I read now.
The voices in your head were saying it.
Right, because of all the audio I do, like everything is like a sound bite in my head. Like I can hear it. So anyways, Stacia from Rising Tide described what you do as in the Bangor Daily newspaper, BDN, as a symbiotic relationship between the beer and the chocolate. And I just thought that was really amazing.
Yeah. Stacia was really important in me actually starting what I'm doing now. She was part of the Beer Mavens, probably still is, but her and Laura Burns were two of the key people in the beginning who kind of brought me into the beer world in a food way. So they invited me to do the first Beer Mavens chocolate and beer pairing, and everyone really loved it, and it was something I was already thinking about, and then took off from there. Feedback was great. People really loved it, and I decided to do it.
So that's actually where we met, was through the Beer Mavens as well. It wasn't the first one that you had done, was it?
No, it was the second one that was porters and stouts.
Yes.
History of porters and stouts, and then pairing them with chocolate.
Right, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
I think that was my
delicious.
first event. I was like, beer and chocolate. Which brings us to round 1 and 2.
Perfect.
Today we're just going to we're going to double fist it. We're going to have round 1 and 2 together because they just go so hand in hand today, because we're going to talk about your chocolates and the process that you go through and how it all got started as we eat your chocolates and drink them with beer. And I'm so excited. I can't even. Okay.
Delicious. Me too.
All right. Let's do this.
All right.
Where do you want to start?
I think we should start with sour cherry.
Okay.
So I have a sour cherry truffle that has Allagash Coolship Cerise in it. It is a lambic-style beer. They actually take about 2 to 3 years to make this beer. It's, you like sours as well, but it's a spontaneously fermented beer. So they actually pour the beer into a pan-shaped open top container, for lack of a better word. It's a stainless steel, looks like a baking sheet that's huge.
Right.
And it's open to Portland's air, and actually the yeast from Portland is what inoculates the beer and helps it to actually ferment.
Right, and over there, I think, don't they actually have like a stained glass window that they...
It's
like,
beautiful.
Like they made this into not just an open fermentation type vessel. They made this into like a cathedral to cool ship awesomeness.
As it should be in my mind. I think it's an amazing type of beer, style of beer. You can't actually call it a lambic unless if it is produced in the region in Belgium where they produce lambics. So they have to call it a lambic style beer, and therefore the cool ship series, because cool ship is the actual vessel, that they put it in.
And we're going to pair that with an Oud Creek. It says it's a lambic, so this must be from the right region.
Yeah, so Hansen's is actually a very old brewery, and they make a lambic style, or a lambic. It is a true lambic because they are from that region. I'd love to try it with you.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful red color. It's like this ruby garnet color. Oh, and it's just so like, I know that pungent isn't necessarily like a pretty word, but it's pungent in a lovely way. But it's like, it gets right in your nose.
It does. It is more of the kind of vinegar notes.
Yes.
It's almost like a sour vinegar smell to it, but there's definitely a lot of upfront cherry.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, is the best way to do this to drink a little of this without chocolatizing our mouth first, or?
You could do it either way, but I would recommend probably trying the beer first.
Let's give it a go. I'm good with that. Oh, it's very...
I love that.
Yeah, it's a very bright flavor.
So that's part of the reason why I really love lambics. They're very bright, very refreshing. It depends on which one you get. They can be tart to the point of very mouth puckering, and you can't drink too much because your stomach will not like you so much afterward. But it just is refreshing, and it's usually with fruit. They make the actual lambic, and they do blends. So they'll blend different ages, different years together to be able to create a consistent product. As much as you can do that with a spontaneously fermented beer. But then they actually age it over the fruit. I know at Allagash, it ages over cherries, real fresh cherries from Maine, for a while before it's actually bottled.
Yeah. One, I had a summer of sours, and I know what you're talking about. Your stomach doesn't really like you. I had the worst heartburn of my life during that time. This one doesn't feel like it would be like that. It feels a lot smoother.
It tastes a lot smoother.
Yeah.
It definitely has that tartness to it, but it's not so tart that it's offensive or something that would hurt your stomach.
Yeah, I feel like it's more front of the mouth tart and less like in the back of your tongue tart, if that makes any sense.
No, absolutely.
Allagash, they'll sit on a beer until they think it's ready to go.
Which is how brewers should be doing it.
Right.
I highly recommend trying Allagash's Cool Ship series because they do a fantastic job. For being the first place in the States, I believe it's the first brewery that's done an actual lambic style beer. Other ones have followed suit and are trying it now too, and I think that's awesome. But in general, people in the United States didn't really know about this style until a few years back. I remember coming back from France, having experiences in Belgium of actually, tasting Cantillon and tasting, different ones that were done really well, and it's really hard to find here.
Right.
Now it's actually easier to find, and places like Novare and other places are, they're actually selling them.
So you said we were going to have an Allagash delicious chocolate with it.
Absolutely. So the sour cherry is dark chocolate on both the inside and the outside. The fruit is actually soaked in a mix that I make, which includes the beer, predominantly the beer, to actually sour the cherries. But then it's crystallized, so it does have that bit of sweetness. Like a lot of brewers, I strive to have a balance of flavor in what I'm producing. I think a chocolate should be sweet, but not overly cloyingly sweet. And I really disliked how a lot of the chocolates that I've tried before have a medicinal taste to their fruit flavors. And so I was really striving with the sour cherry to have it be actually tart, bright, and a true cherry flavor.
Yeah, there's a lot of cherry stuff that I actually do not like. The fresh cherries are the only cherries that I really enjoy. And I don't know if I've had specifically this one, but the way that I've had your chocolates before and the way you put them together, I'm like itching to try it.
Please, jump in.
That was the tastiest sour little bite. It was so good. And so after you go and you pick them, you soak them in the beer.
Mm-hmm.
I assume you have to like take all the pits out.
Yeah.
Oh, how long does that take?
A long time, and it's a huge mess.
Yeah.
It's actually a lot of fun because usually I have chocolate everywhere in my kitchen, and then you add fruit into it, especially fruit that's red that stains, and so then I have red spots and chocolate spots everywhere. I don't know if my husband's a big fan of it, but I think it's a fun day.
Your kitchen's not white, is it? That would be... Oh, no, it is. Yeah, that must look like a really bad, like, murder scene or something by the time you're done with it.
Sometimes.
Yeah?
Yeah, sometimes. And it's hard to get out of the white chef's coats as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine. I would be really bad at making chocolate in general, and then you add something like a red, bright fruit. It would be bad. Somehow, like, I will be eating a bagel like a normal person does and end up with cream cheese on my forehead. Like,
I don't know if that's like a normal person.
no, but it appears to be like a normal person. And then you look at the remnants and there's like cream cheese on my forehead. I don't even know. That's like, what did I do? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
I've done that with chocolate before where it splashes up into my face. It's like, oh, that's great. That's a good look.
Yeah.
Maybe it could be a facial.
Ooh, you should try, like, let me know how that goes. We can do beauty tips brought to you by Laura on the website.
Perfect.
Melt a bunch of chocolate, soak some cherries in some beer,
Mix and spread.
and just put it all over your
It's
face.
healthy for everything.
Yeah, and then try to lick as much of it off as you can, because why waste it?
Of course.
Right?
That would be chocolate waste if you didn't.
Right. And you don't want to get chocolate waste. No. That'd be bad. Yeah, this is delicious.
So I've gone to a lot of beer festivals. I've done a lot of different beer events, gone to a lot of different breweries. My husband used to brew beer. Still does occasionally at home, but not professionally. And I kept thinking the same thing when I was at those festivals. I'd like some chocolate or something.
So we just had a gentleman show up at the table. What is your name, sir?
My name's Jameson.
Jameson showed up with a bottle and 2 tiny glasses.
Yeah, from...
Hold on a second. We want to make sure we get Jameson here. You got to speak. Get close. Make love
This
to the
bottle
mic.
is from a friend at the bar over there. It's a bottle of the Unibrew Coquechos. Lovely, lovely cherry beer.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Enjoy, guys.
Cheers to you and your friend. Do you think the friend was your husband?
Could be.
If
Not sure.
If not, your husband might have something to say about that.
You may.
All right.
Although it may just be Shaheen who...
Shaheen's quite lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely he is.
Yeah. Novare is a wonderful little place to go.
It is. I actually helped to paint the pipes here, which sounds ridiculous, but when they were first opening, Dan was actually, my husband Dan, was actually the first employee. And so we came in to actually help to get the place going and, do the renovations that it needed to be able to open.
Yeah.
So we go way back with the people from Novare, with Eric and Shaheen and the staff here. Especially when Jay was here before.
I think I remember Jay.
Oh,
I've been around for a while.
I'm sure you remember Jay.
Yeah.
Jay's hard to forget.
A little bit. Back to the particular beer and chocolate that we're drinking now. I think it's really interesting what the chocolate does to the taste of the beer. It changes it.
Yes.
in a good
that's,
way.
That's the point.
Yeah.
So I think with any good pairing, you want to be able to taste both parts and still have them taste good. So it enhances both of the elements. So it makes the beer taste better, makes the chocolate taste better. Together, it's even better.
Yeah, and I get it now. I understand what Stasha was saying. You know, the symbiotic relationship between the two, where they've come together in such a way, it does change it. You also were mentioning before our lovely president arrived that you've been to some beer fest and you were always wishing there was chocolate there. I don't know that I've necessarily ever thought that, but now I'm not going to be able to go to a beer fest and not think that. Like, I'm going to be like, well, where's the chocolate?
This is not a beer fest unless if there's some chocolate.
Right. You know, normally I have a love affair with chocolate. And
just call me ahead of time and maybe we can arrange that.
Oh, awesome. That sounds great. Instead of having those pretzel necklaces, we can just have some La Creme Chocolat necklaces. And we can just put your, like, little business cards on there so that we can be like, oh, you wish you had one. Here's a card.
Perfect.
It can be your new product line. Like,
I love it.
The Beer Fest chocolate necklace.
So for a lot of the chocolate that I make and I pair, I try them. I try the beer with the chocolate to make sure that it will do the expected results. So I'll have a good idea of this beer will pair really well with this chocolate, and until you actually try it, sometimes there are pieces that are nuances of a beer that you don't normally perceive at the forefront of your palate. And when you actually have it with something else, those will come out. And it's not always a desirable thing.
Have you had any instances where you've, like, thought, oh, this would be a really good idea, and then when you actually put it together, you're like, wait a minute, I didn't know that was going to happen?
I have. A lot of times with saisons, because the saison yeast is different, more of a farmhouse yeast. A lot of times with chocolate, it'll come out more of a bubblegummy taste.
Oh, really?
So you have to actually consider what yeast is being used, what hops are being used, how it's brewed, and the actual process that it went through when you're considering what type of chocolate you're going to put with it.
Wow.
Because you will highlight things that, as I said, are not necessarily desirable or that the brewer is not looking to highlight.
Right.
So I try everything beforehand and make sure that it is the pairing that I want to have.
So earlier when you were talking about all that went into the Allagash Cool Ship beer, I was like, oh, she just really is a big fan and must know it. But you go through a lot of research on your beers that you're going to try pairing.
Absolutely. So specifically with the Cool Ship beer with Allagash, I don't know that they thought it was necessarily going to work, but they were kind enough to be able to let me try it. I read a few different things in chocolate books that said, don't do sour bitter with chocolate. It won't work. And I disagreed. I think you can do it, and you can do it in a really good way. It just takes practice in perfecting it, and it takes knowledge of what's happening. So, for instance, what's actually happening with the Cool Ship beer and the fruit flavor, because of that tart sour taste, it helps that fruit flavor to come through in a really bright way.
Right.
Usually with dark chocolate, fruit flavors will kind of get muddled, or they'll be a little bit subdued and hidden beneath that kind of bitter dark chocolate flavor. And the Cool Ship beer actually helps to have it go through the chocolate and come out as a bright fruit flavor that's real fruit.
Yeah. Okay, so how does it get started? Do you just, like, have a beer and you're like, oh, this is really good, I think it would be good to something, and then you start researching? Do people come to you and say, hey, we like what you're doing, make a chocolate with our beer? Like, how does that whole process get started?
A little bit of both, actually. So I've had people come up to me and ask if I can have a partnership with them and try something. But I've also had different beers that I really like that I think would pair really well with chocolate and want to create an event and a pairing. So it kind of comes from all different angles. it's sometimes the people who are creating the beer who have the idea. Sometimes it's me, and I think something would work and want to try it.
So if I was a brewer,
Yeah.
I'm not a very good brewer. Even at my home, I'm going to convince somebody to let me brew at their place, but I'm going to make sure that they oversee the whole process because I'm not a very good one.
Well, you don't know until you try.
I've tried a few times.
All right. Okay.
Anyways, so I'm a brewer. I come to you. I was like, I love what you're doing. Can I say I want you to do it with a specific beer? Do you try my whole lineup to see what you think would work the best?
It's always been a collaborative experience for me. I don't know specifically with that example because I haven't actually had that happen where someone is like, this has to be the beer that you use. The wonderful part about the brewing community, I think at large, because it's been my general experience and definitely in Maine, and I know that from talking to other people and also being involved with it myself, everyone is super collaborative here. Everyone wants to enhance what everyone else is doing. Competition is a good thing.
Yeah.
It creates innovation. It creates awesome flavor profiles and new experiences for the beer drinker. So it's something that's desirable here. And I think that attitude pervades their general outlook on how to approach things, which I love. I think is awesome. It's usually a collaborative experience where they come and they say, we'd love to have chocolate. What can you do?
Okay, so we've done that. And so now we start tasting beers together. You start thinking.
Absolutely.
And then is it pretty easy for you to settle on one after you've tried some beers? You know, after talking, does it sometimes take a few tries, like with different beers?
It's a difficult question.
I want to know your process. I want to know how the chocolate works because it is just, to me, there's so many things that are magical and amazing and
Absolutely.
crazy about the whole beer world where you keep finding all these like little nuances that you had no idea were there.
Absolutely. Well, and it's also amazing and different with chocolate because water and chocolate are like arch nemesises.
Yeah.
They do not like each other and they don't play well together.
Right.
So actually creating something with both of them is, it has to be a process that is magical in some sort of way.
Yeah.
Because you have to have them get along. I don't know how to answer how it is that I come up with the creative process. It kind of happens. I mull it over. I think about the beer. I talk with the brewer. I ask them about what they experience and what they love about their beer. And from that, get ideas of different flavors, different associated flavors. And then from there, create a flavor profile that I think would complement, contrast in a good way, really enhance what it is that they're going for.
Right.
So
Right.
it usually does come from the brewer's ideas.
I love that. I love that you're trying to really highlight what somebody, is trying to say with their beer. It's like, to me, it sounds like an artist that has done this portrait, and anybody can interpret it however they want, but the artist actually has like this idea of what it's supposed to be, and you come in and say, yes, let me just throw a spotlight on exactly what you want people to see.
I have a passion for chocolate, but I also have a passion for craft beer, and I really want to highlight what it is that is happening in Maine right now in the brewing community, because I think there are amazing things that are happening right now. It's just exploded with creativity and different people who are doing all different things that are awesome. So that is what the process is. It's reinterpreting someone's artistic creation that's in a beer, but in chocolate.
Yeah. It's so amazing to me. All right,
Thank
so
you.
I finished my first beer and my first chocolate.
Yeah, let's
Are we
move on
ready
to the
to
next
dig
one.
into the next set?
Absolutely. Okay, so this next chocolate that I brought is Burnside Coffee. It has Foundation Brewing's Burnside Ale in it. It also has Coastal Roots coffee bitters in it. It's kind of a crossover because I'm pairing it with a Rising Tide beer that has Tandem's coffee as a cold brew in it.
You have got like so many things going on, like so many local businesses in this little pairing we've got going on right here.
Absolutely. I really love being able to support and promote other Maine businesses that are local and doing great things. So I actually did get Coffee by Design involved in it as well, because I do have Coffee by Design roasted beans in the chocolate. I steep them in the cream before making the ganache for the center. So it is a dark chocolate on the inside. It has coffee. It has the Burnside Ale. It has the coffee bitters, cream, locally made. I guess the cows are local, I should say.
There are some local cows involved.
Yes, they're milked
Henrietta and
Simon, you know.
Simon. I don't think Simon makes milk.
Not anymore? Oh, damn. It's a different kind.
It's a different kind of cow.
I mean, Simone.
Simone, there you go. There we go. It's all right. I grew up in the sticks, so I know that girl cows
you
make
know
milk.
about the cows.
I know about the cows.
Probably
Yeah.
the chickens as well.
No, we only had cows.
Oh,
And not a lot of them, just a few of them.
must have been nice though.
It was one at a time. There was like this auction on the radio where you could like call up and try to win a cow.
Order a cow?
It's like, yeah, you had to like bet on it. And like, we would do that sometimes. It was weird. The more I think about it, that's weird. Let's go back to this.
All right. So a little bit of shaved chocolate and coffee nibs on top. The beer is Rising Tide's Waypoint.
It's one of my I don't have favorites, but this is so... It's so good.
It is.
And I love that we actually had our beers poured at the beginning, and so we've been sitting here talking for a while,
Yeah.
and it actually changes flavor as it warms up, so it's probably like in prime condition for us.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to have a sip.
Please.
Oh, it smells like a cold brew coffee. Like,
I think this year it is definitely more coffee
yeah.
than it is porter. And last year it was more porter than it was coffee. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think it's great. And
Yeah.
I think the coffee that they chose is awesome. It's definitely on point.
Yeah, they went through a whole process trying to like decide exactly what they wanted to put in there for coffee, and
It's an important component.
Yeah.
I mean, it can definitely throw off the whole flavor of the beer if you choose a coffee that's too smoky or too astringent or so on and so forth.
it's just like what you were talking about with the chocolate. Like, you really have to think about what the beer or the chocolate or the coffee is going to do and how they're going to interact. And I
Right.
think that, I love how much detail is put into all these things. If I could make an iced coffee that tasted like this, I would,
yeah.
all day long.
Me too.
It'd be
Absolutely.
fantastic.
So, grab one of the chocolates.
All right, so
It's this one right
this
here.
one. You brought
Yeah.
such delicious things to the table. It's like, which one should
Thank
I do
you.
next? Is it strange that I smell my chocolate? I think it's a throwback from my drinking the beer.
I smell it too.
Okay, good.
And sometimes people will cheers their chocolates.
Really?
Yeah, it's awesome because I do that too. Ching!
They don't make a good sound effect. There's no sound there.
No, you got to
No.
make it yourself.
Right. Oh, this is a really smooth one. Really. That last one we had was delicious, but there was like a sharp bite to it. And it was great. But this one's just so smooth. And this is like, sit on the couch with a bunch of these, just like pop them. Like,
Absolutely.
I would. It'd be really good. A little bowl of popcorn with a little olive oil and salt in one hand. In the other hand, a little bowl of these chocolate truffles, and just kind of like back
Alternate.
and forth. And we can throw in the coffee beer.
Perfect.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Bring me some chick flicks. I'm good to go.
I'll come over to your house.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
As long as we don't have to watch Frozen.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Deal?
That will be a deal.
Okay,
Absolutely.
sweet. You don't have children, right?
I don't. I do
probably
have a large sheepdog who might as well be a child.
Does he force you to watch Frozen, though?
No, usually he forces me to go outside when it's really cold to exercise, to walk or throw the ball or...
Mine tries to do that, and I was like,
Yeah.
would you like to watch Frozen? I might be part of the problem.
Maybe.
Yeah. I
If that's the other option.
Right. It's like, do I want to watch being cold or actually be cold?
Yeah. Which this morning, quite cold.
Yeah. It was really cold here in
Yeah.
Maine. Last night into this morning.
I'm pretty sure it was 18 degrees this morning when we went on our walk. Yeah.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah.
This is great.
Absolutely. So a lot of times people do naturally pair darker beers with chocolate.
Right.
And it is a no-brainer combination. It's great together. Definitely you have the malt characteristic, and a lot of times it's roasted malt, and so it does actually complement and mimic what is happening in chocolate. I think it's wonderful together.
Yeah. I feel like it dampens the coffee a little bit in the beer. Like, I feel like it brings it down a little bit and lets some of the other flavors come out. Because, like I said, it does taste like the best iced coffee in the world.
Absolutely.
And then I think that you can taste more of that porter coming through with the chocolate.
Yeah. Which I actually really like.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like it almost lends more of a balance.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just trying to express in words what I'm tasting. I think it's working. I don't know. It's really funny that I actually tried a podcast because words are not something that come really easily to me.
You wouldn't be able to tell that.
Oh, no? You didn't notice where I called my beer chocolate, coffee, and then finally beer? Yeah? That slipped
Details,
right through?
details.
I think we need to start a new podcast.
Beer and chocolate podcast?
I think it's just called, Beer and Chocolate Podcast. And we just get together every week and eat chocolate and drink beer. And that's it.
Welcome to my world.
We'll just...
That's what I do. It's just not aired.
Right, but I need a reason to be there. Like,
You can come anytime.
Excellent.
Join in the mess, in the fun, all of the above.
See, I need
Usually
that-
there's dancing involved.
I'm okay with dancing.
All right.
I'm okay with that. The thing is I need an excuse for the husband, like why I'm going. Like, it can't just be like, oh, it's Tuesday, time to go eat chocolate and drink beer, have fun with the children.
Maybe you could bring him back chocolate and beer.
Maybe that's what I'm just going to get your chocolate and beer. Like, I'm going to get it.
It just took me 2 hours.
It just took me a long time. I'll be back sometime. I don't know. I need to make sure I've got Uber on call, too, because that would be safety first.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This sounds like a great plan. This podcast is getting better and better.
Which actually, I think that's an excellent point. A lot of times when I'm at breweries, men will come in and they're going to just have a beer, hang out, and they're like, oh no, what about my wife? I'll get her some chocolate.
There you go. Yeah.
Which is perfect.
Yeah, my husband better be bringing me the beer and the chocolate. Like, if he came home from a brewery without the beer, and he was just like, here's some chocolate, I'd be like, all right, you get half points. Because the chocolate is amazing, so you get some points. But where's the beer?
Absolutely. I agree. However, we are beer lovers.
Yeah.
A lot of women who aren't.
Yeah. More and more women are becoming
I know,
beer
which
lovers.
I love.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
I think so, too. All right, before we move on to round 3, which we're snuggling up close to, do you have any more chocolates for us to try?
I do. I actually brought my rye whiskey truffle.
Okay.
And I brought 2 different versions of it. So I've been working on this experiment for a long time now. At least it seems like a long time. It's like what you were saying about Allagash's beer waiting for it to be released. It seems like forever. Probably since the summer. I've been barrel aging my chocolate in New England Distilling's rye whiskey barrels.
Okay.
Let me back up.
Wait. Okay, you back up, and then can we pause when we get back to this point?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So,
Rewind and... All right, go.
I'm originally from Maryland. I grew up with my grandfather, both my grandfathers, loving rye whiskey. Mm-hmm. That was their thing. So, rye and cigar smoke, that's my childhood. Not all of it, obviously,
yeah.
but I remember that smell.
Yeah.
I remember them having it. I remember all of the aspects of that experience.
Right.
And it's a very fond experience for me. I mean, it's always tied to laughs and family experiences where, it's good times. I found New England Distilling, and I found he was doing a rye whiskey that's a Maryland-style rye. Very different from Midwestern rye. Midwestern rye is like bullet rye, those types of styles. It's very peppery, it's very hot, and it's very abrasive. A lot of people like it, and it is a good whiskey. However, Maryland-style rye, they actually add other things to the grain bill beside rye, and so it gives it a smoother mouthfeel, a smoother taste. It still has the pepperiness up front, and sassafras and cinnamon.
Did you say sassafras?
Yeah, sassafras.
Wait, that's a thing? Like, my mom just used to always call me sassafras.
Oh, no, sassafras is a thing. Absolutely.
What is it?
It comes from bark. It's like birch beer, except it's...
I thought that was sarsaparilla.
Yes, which comes from sassafras.
Oh.
That's what they make it with. So birch beer is made from birch bark.
Right.
And sarsaparilla, is made from...
Oh, okay. I'm good. I'm there. We can continue.
So you still have those flavors that are in the middle part, and then it actually smooths out and finishes almost like a bourbon would, where it's really clean, smooth whiskey that's very drinkable. So I loved it. I thought it was great, and I approached him about using it in a chocolate. We got to talking, and he's actually from Maryland. His family made whiskey down there back in the day, and he brought the recipe up to Maine and is using local ingredients and the family tradition recipe to make this rye whiskey. So we were talking about actually doing an experiment with chocolate, and he had already done a barrel-aged coffee bean. The theory was coffee beans have the same fat content, approximately, as chocolate. Fat is what picks up the flavors, so aging the chocolate in a whiskey barrel would pick up the flavor from the barrel. Decided to give it a try, because what do you have to lose? Some chocolate?
Right.
Put it in the barrel. They were nice enough to roll it around so it has surface contact and pick up the flavors. And we've tried it every week or so since then. It's actually been aging really nicely, and I was really happy with the result of it. And so I made the same recipe that I had made before, exactly the same, but with the barrel-aged chocolate, to be able to tell the different nuances of what's coming through from the actual wood.
Okay. Questions have arisen. So first, you said coffee beans. So, like, do they just, like... No. Did you say coffee beans?
Yeah, so he had actually had someone come in and age their coffee beans in one of the whiskey barrels. I originally thought that we'd have to put them through the bung hole.
Through what?
The bung hole.
Oh, yes, because you'd have to... Yeah, and you'd have to get them in through... I know what that is now. So one of our co-hosts, Jen, actually... She, when we were first starting this, she was like send through our instant messengers to all of us little pieces of trivia. And she's like,
nice.
Do you know what the part of the barrel is called that you put the cork in it? And we're like, no. And she's like, it's a bunghole.
It's a bunghole, yeah.
I was like, so now, like, I know that because it was just like,
So originally I thought that the pieces would have to be small enough to be able to fit through the bunghole just because I don't work with barrels normally.
Yeah.
Thankfully, you can take the rings off and actually open the top. So they could be a little bit larger if need be. I tried to get them as small as possible so that they would have as much surface area contact. The actual wood soaks in the whiskey. It's first charred oak to be able to produce whiskey. The regulations that they have for it, you have to char the new oak before you fill it with whiskey. He had taken the whiskey out of that barrel in about June, and I think that we put the chocolate in maybe September. So it was fairly fresh barrel. It still had a little bit of moisture, but was not wet.
Right.
So it had all that flavor that had soaked into the wood, and it had the charred bits from the inside and just all of the character from the whiskey.
Yeah.
That's what the chocolate was actually touching and absorbing.
And so now when you take all of your chocolate back, have you already taken it back?
I actually took back what was in the barrel before and put more in.
Oh, okay. And so are you going to keep doing that process of taking it out and putting it in, or do you think this is your last batch or only a few batches?
I'm not sure, but on December 12th, we're going to have an event at New England Distilling to be able to release the barrel-aged chocolate and have a side-by-side tasting where you can try the regular rye whiskey chocolate and the barrel-aged rye whiskey chocolate. It's an all-day event that people can come to. They can stop by for the demo. They can stop by for just tasting side-by-side. They can come in and just get a box.
You have my husband at the rye. You have me for everything. And the kids are like, we're going to do something for a podcast? Okay, Mommy, whatever you want.
Shiny distillery equipment.
Yeah. Look, it's so shiny.
It's so shiny and copper.
All right, so we've been talking about it, but we haven't tried it yet. All right.
So the ones over here are regular.
Okay.
The recipe, everything's the same except for the chocolate.
Okay.
And these are the barrel-aged ones. I recommend trying the regular ones first.
All right.
Then the barrel-aged.
That's really good. I almost think that the barrel-aged one is smoother. Like, I feel like the whiskey is more prominent. Like the... Hold on, I'm going back in. Some of those flavors, you definitely get like the whiskey straight up with the non-barrel aged. Mm-hmm. And then they feel like, they've matured, they've mellowed out, they're smoother in the barrel aged.
It has a heat to it.
Which one?
The barrel-aged one. The actual chocolate has kind of an alcoholic heat to it that is not bad at all. I think it's actually really a pleasing aspect. You can actually taste a little bit of the wood.
Yeah.
And the characteristic of almost honey qualities does come through.
I think that I get more of the honey. For me, I feel like the straight up whiskey has more of the heat for me. And then the other one, I think it's the honey that makes it taste a little bit more balanced. Some of those sweeter flavors, they feel a little bit more balanced.
So I can definitely taste the wood character and the oakiness in the barrel-aged one. And I think that's sort of what directs your palate and makes it almost seem more well-balanced.
Yeah.
Because it's not just the inside that has that flavoring. In the one that's regular, yeah, you get whiskey, but that's from the filling. That's from the ganache, because there is a good bit of whiskey in the ganache.
Right.
The other one, it's flavor on the outside and the inside, and that
Yeah. The very last bite I took of the barrel-aged one, I got the heat from the alcohol. Now, generally, I'm not a whiskey drinker. I pretend, because my husband will be like, I'm going to have some whiskey. And I was like, yeah, I'll try some. Can you put like a half gallon of water in mine? And then he's like, this is a waste. And I'm like, well, I don't know. That's how I like my whiskey. Or I can tell him, or you can go and get me chocolates.
There you go.
right? So
Yeah.
you can either put like a half gallon of water with my whiskey.
Or some chocolate.
Or some chocolate. These are 2 options. It's good to have options.
No to Amanda's husband. Contact me.
Contact Laura. The very last bite I took of the not barrel aged, I got like a tiniest little, almost like pepper heat. Like,
Yeah.
Did you put actual pepper on?
I did. I did enhance the pepperiness of it.
Yeah, I definitely got
It's
a
the character
flake of pepper.
Right, and it's the character that they are going for
Right.
in a rye whiskey. And so that's what I was saying from before. I take what it is
Right.
that the person has created and then enhance those flavors in chocolate. So the spices that I chose for the top, for the garnish for this, enhance all of those flavor profiles that Ned has already put into the whiskey creation.
All right, round 3. We've been saying we're going there, but we're doing it right now.
Okay.
All right. So in round 3, we want to know what your first beer memory was. So we say first, but we don't actually know, so you can say whatever memory you would like to.
I have a lot of beer memories, so it's very hard to choose which one is actually first. And it's also hard to choose one that's the most memorable. However, I guess I would have to say, when we were in France, my husband and I, he worked at a small brewery in the north of France and another brewery in the south of Belgium. Going into the brewery in France, Thierry, it's a picturesque farmhouse brewery. So farmhouse in the front, right on Main Street, very cute little house with an actual barn in the back, and that's where they brew their beer. They have a little connected section where you go into the tasting room, and just being able to see the process from start to finish and then try the beer, and talk with the people who are actually doing it. They have, chickens right there and make all of their meals from scratch. It's very much immersed in their life. They're fantastic people. They're very knowledgeable, and I think that was a pivotal moment in terms of this is how beer can be brewed, and it's fantastic, and it's such a great culture. Just all of the aspects surrounding it are fantastic. I actually didn't like beer when I was growing up. My first sip of beer was, I believe, a Heineken. That's what my dad normally kept in the house. And I thought that that's what all beer was. Really didn't like it very much, and went for the typical, I guess typical in my area, like Boone's and whatever liqueur is around or something sweet. And my husband was actually the one to introduce me to all the different styles of beer. He had such a passion and interest for beer and all that was, that he introduced me to stouts and porters and lambics and, so on and so forth for all of the different styles. And so actually getting to see beer from a different side and try all of the different styles, it's really true. When people say, I don't like beer, they just haven't tried enough.
Yeah. I think it's funny, like they say that it's an acquired taste, but I don't think that it is. I think you just have to taste the right one.
Absolutely.
You do have to acquire that beer. Like you have to go out there and hunt for it. But it's not because that you're numbing your taste buds.
Yeah.
It's that you just haven't met your beer yet.
Absolutely. I think that it is something where you just need to actually try all the different ones, and know what it is that you like. It really helps if you have someone who's knowledgeable about all the different types of beer to be able to steer you toward the one that you're most likely to like. That being said, I really didn't meet any beers in France or Belgium that I didn't like. The other place where he worked, Duranca, is amazing. And he's just doing it as a hobby. And he produces fantastic beer. That's actually the one that I wanted to try for the lambic. He makes a Creme, which is fantastic. Duranka is an amazing brewery, and they're amazing people. Produce world-class beer. So actually seeing that side of things, being involved in it, and then trying what it is that they were producing and being like, man, this is fantastic. It just lent a whole different side of beer and how it's produced and what happens and what the actual outcome is. They're very innovative, and they experiment with lots of different flavors, and it's a very different thing than you normally get with a Bud or a Coors or a Heineken.
Yeah, that's amazing. I would drink all the beers too. It sounds so...
Why wouldn't you?
Right. I mean, it just sounds so great. All right. Last round. Round 4.
Got it.
We've already made it to the end. So we call this round 3 sheets to the wind, 3 random questions. Very lovingly. We've had a few drinks, and we're hoping that you will just spill everything else out to us. So our first question in round 4 is... what was your favorite cartoon as a child?
The one that's coming to mind is Scooby-Doo. I love their sense of adventure and goofiness, and I always loved a good mystery. Another one that comes to mind is Inspector Gadget. Go with Gadget Arm.
Yes, I actually say that to my daughter a lot, and she has no idea what I'm talking about.
It was awesome.
It was.
I mean, obviously I had...
remember. It was Penny, and what was the dog's name?
I don't even remember.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know. We'll put an episode in the show notes, and then we'll be able to see what it is.
Good.
All right, next question.
Yeah.
Question number 2. You're doing well so far. This
Perfect.
one is, what song is stuck in your head right now?
Oscillating between 2. So our good friends, they have a band called the Deslons. They have a fantastic song on their new album called Still Somebody. Love the song. People should go and check it out. They have incredible music. The other one that keeps jumping into my mind is James Brown, which I forget the name of.
You can sing it for us.
Oh, no. You don't want that. Trust me.
I try to get every guest to sing. I have a very poor success rate, but I have had like 3 or 4 people sing. You could join those ranks.
Nope. Haven't had that many beers. Trust me. I think the podcast listening would just
The
plummet.
stats would go down.
Plummet. You can confer with my husband about that later, but I'm pretty sure no singing.
Right. Dancing, but no singing.
Exactly.
All right. Good to know. Good to know.
I will gladly break out a move or 2 rather than sing.
All right. I'll keep that in mind when we go to video.
Fantastic.
And final question. What was, other than all of this amazing chocolate that is like pretty much breakfast, lunch, and dinner for you.
It is.
What else was the best thing that you had to eat this week?
So I made it was a steak with a mushroom sauce. We went to a really good grocery store to find some mushrooms that were really not the norm. Hen of the Woods and some king trumpet and king oyster mushrooms.
I've heard of 2 of 3 of those.
Perfect. It was fantastic. And doing a mushroom sauce with it, with wine and having a little bit of beef stock and flour and other components over top of the steak with broccoli on the side, I think would be my highlight.
Now, I normally ask this question. I kind of lie to you and say that was the last question, but I normally bring it back to beer by asking what you paired with it. But if it was a wine sauce, I'm guessing that it wasn't beer.
It actually was wine.
Yeah. Okay. So,
It was a Malbec. I do love a good glass of wine as well.
which
however-
also goes with chocolate, right?
Oh yeah,
Red wine and chocolate. Is Malbec
Yeah.
a red?
yeah.
Score.
It's generally a fruitier wine, which would pair better with chocolate than other ones. You do want something that's fruitier and full-bodied.
Yeah.
But if it were to be beer, probably Daymark, Rising Tide.
Yeah. They've got some pretty solid
It's
beers.
just-
Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Yeah, thank
Anybody
you.
would like to place an order
Yeah.
in time for Christmas? Will they still have time?
Absolutely, they will. You can either go onto the website, which we are actually updating right now. Hopefully, it will have a component for ordering online by Christmas. Also, you can call me. My number is on Facebook or the website, or instant message me on Facebook.
And they can go
Any
to
of those things.
the website or Facebook, and it's just La Creme
Chocolat.
Chocolat.com, and we'll
Yes.
have links in our show notes for
Yeah,
anybody
for the
that
spelling.
wants to. Yes, and spelling. Anybody wants to go and get some of these amazing, tasty treats. And do you ship far and wide?
I do. I've actually shipped to Hawaii and over to Europe before, so shipping is not a problem.
Great, that sounds wonderful. Thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Thank
And
you.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Well, there you have it, folks. If you want to get your hands on some tasty treats, head over to our show notes to get links to La Creme Chocolat. GreatBeerAdventure.com/024. Thank you so much to Laura for supplying such amazing truffles. I can't wait to get some more. Perhaps I'll run into some of you at one of the many events Laura has coming up. You'll want to head over to Facebook page to see all that she has going on. We have a couple of specials coming up for you as we move on through the holidays, and then we will be going to 2 shows a week, a short show and a long form show. This will allow you to get to know even more breweries. We will have more information as we get closer to year end. Next time, join us for a chat with Chris of Barreled Souls on barrel fermentation and the Oxford comma. The music throughout today's episode is by Old Etc. out of Biddeford, Maine. To learn more about them, head over to greatbeeradventure.com/music. We have new things headed your way every week and can't wait to share them with you. Special thanks to our behind-the-scenes guru, Dano Pugach. Photography for this episode is by Kelsey St. Germain. Today's episode was created, produced, and edited by me, Amanda. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Cheers. Want to know more? Be sure to find us on Instagram at Great Beer Women. If you haven't done so already, be sure to head over to greatbeeradventure.com/subscribe to subscribe. That way, you'll be the first to know when a new episode goes live. Also, don't forget to tell your friends about us. A small party is fun, but a huge party is extraordinary. Let's get more people knowing about beer in the great state of Maine. Great Beer Adventure is part of the Great Pint Society.
Out of curiosity, what was the beer that you would cut it with?
Whatever was the cheapest.
Ah, okay. All right.
Yeah, at the end of the night, you're like,
The
I'll take 25 cents for a cup. Yes.
Wow.
That one. Like,
So the actual real benefit of craft beer and the way that they're making it now, there are naturally B vitamins in yeast, in beer.
Yeah.
And if you're not filtering your beer, you know,
Right.
like a lot of the macro breweries do,
Right.
they actually still do have B vitamins in them, and that's what will prevent you from having a hangover.
Wow. So
That's why I
actually-
asked, because if you had chosen maybe a little bit more of a pricey beer, however,
it could have. Oh, it didn't prevent the next day
You know,
from being
yeah,
horrible.
but-
It just prevented that
Yeah.
night from being like that bad. Like,
Yeah.
there's a difference.